So within a week of recording, or probably by the time you're watching this, iOS 26 gets released to everybody, bringing with it Liquid Glass, Apple's new design language. This is going to be most noticeable on notifications and menus, but almost everything got a slight touch-up. Icons have a little bit more depth, things are a little bit more shiny, and me easily being entertained by shiny things put the beta on my phone almost immediately. It brings a good dose of Windows 7 nostalgia, actually, but after a couple weeks, something felt kinda off using it. Clunky would be the only word I can really use to describe it. It just didn't sit right. And then at some point, it clicked. This is an iPhone 13 mini. iOS 26 is going to support anything iPhone 11 or newer. And the trend since then, or even since the original iPhone, is for the screens to keep getting larger. So out of all phones supported on iOS 26, the 13 mini is by far the smallest, not counting the SE phones with home buttons. Due to slow sales, these minis were discontinued, actually replaced with a Plus model for the 14s. But since they discontinued these, every iPhone generation, the screen has just gotten slightly larger and larger. And over time, it's becoming increasingly obvious to me Apple is not designing their software with these small screens in mind. Now to demonstrate, I have two iPhone minis here, iOS 18 on the left and the new iOS 26 on the right. Keep in mind, the final version of iOS 26 is not out at the time I'm recording this. Some things can definitely change before the final release, but given the trends I'm going to point out here, I highly doubt it. I'm going to open the Messages app and let me know if you can tell the difference. That's right, on iOS 26, Apple has increased the UI spacing on every element. Before updating, this screen could show 9 different conversations. Now, iOS 26 brought that down to 7. And this is mostly due to the increased amount of white space and always present search bar. Another example that's even more tragic is the Settings app, where only the first section that appeared on the old software now shows up on the first. This bad use of space is everywhere. It even extends to the home screen. The new iOS 26 icons don't only have more depth, but they're actually a different shape. They increased how rounded the icons are on the borders. And to counteract that lost space, they've actually made the icons all slightly bigger. And when put side by side with iOS 18, you can definitely tell that iOS 26, ever so slightly, feels more claustrophobic. And it's slight, but there's noticeably less space for your wallpaper. And if you have an iPhone with a much larger screen, this might not seem like that big of an issue, because you have more room to lose before your content runs out of room. But no matter what size your screen is, you're still missing out. And that's because iOS 26 is very bad at something called information density. And that's defined by the amount of information that can appear on your screen per percentage of your display. So even on large phones, bad info density can affect how well you can use that large display. It just so happens to hit the small phones that much harder. Because you'd actually be surprised, most people could switch to a small or large phone and get used to it within a day or two. You'll just get used to it. But what you can't get used to is having objectively less information on your screen, which is what iOS 26 typically does. And to show how bad it's gotten, this is an iPhone 3GS. With the original 3.5-inch screen that the original iPhone came with all the way up to the iPhone 4S. I'm gonna open up Messages and 7 entries. iOS 26 manages to show as many entries as a phone with 2 less inches on the display and a fraction of the resolution. Now granted, the new UI does look prettier, you have profile pictures and more detail, but iOS 18 proved that you don't really need that trade-off. Hop into Settings on the 3GS and it's a similar story. And it actually shows that even iOS 18 uses space pretty badly. Look at all the blank space used up here by the header. On the old phone, where they had to make use of every inch of the display possible and the limited resolution, everything is well spaced and readable. And if you go into notes, the iOS version that's 16 years old manages to show only 1 less entry than the modern iOS with a phone with 2 more inches on the display. So next time someone tries to tell you size matters, say no. Information density does. Because these new phones with these gargantuan screens give designers no incentive to be resourceful about how they design their UI. Because no limitations to work around leads to these larger and larger UI menus that are designed with these bigger screens in mind, and that counterintuitively makes these big screens feel smaller. When this happens, where you feel the pain first is these small phones. And after downgrading my main phone back to iOS 18, it not only felt snappier, but more useful, as it has a UI that was designed with this screen size in mind. And for those of you who want to believe that Apple's going to bring back the mini iPhone, I just think these changes in the software don't show me that that's a priority for them. And not only that, that using the existing Mini is actually going to get worse. And this information density issue isn't unique to iOS or even Apple, as now everything you use has these huge high-res screens and cars on your desk, and the state of UI design is pretty dreary because of that. Just look at any recent Call of Duty menu and you can see how UI design has fallen off a cliff. If you want more bad examples of contemporary UI design, let me know and I will gladly do another video deep diving into like Windows, for example. So thanks for watching and listening to my rant, and I hope to see you in the next one, but first, remember, iPhone mini supremacy. See you next time.